Bonjour anglophonian, or better to say, hello anglophonians. Yes, this was French, not much. But we're going back into the Franco-Belgian area and we take a look at another Sophie adventure. Yeah, but to be honest, it's another starter adventure. We are still not at the point where Sophie plays the main lead in this story, but we'll get to that. This one is called Starter versus the Carbreakers. Let's take a look. Starter vs. the Carbreakers was first published as a serialized story in Spirou magazine beginning with number 1208 on June 8, 1961 and ending with number 1234 on December 7th of the same year. As already mentioned, the later title heroine Sophie does not appear in this story either, but it is an important step on the path of these stories. For example, Starter's friend Pipette is introduced in the plot. From now on, the two of them will experience their adventures together. About the story. On a test drive, Starter experiences inexplicable accidents happening to other drivers. The steering rod of a first car breaks, although the owner assures that he was only recently in a car repair shop. The hood of another car suddenly tears off, and the horn of a third car breaks. When Starter finally pulls up to a gas station with a car repair shop, two of his tires burst. He notices that someone has spread nails on the street. When he speaks to the owner of the gas station, the owner turns pale with fear. Since Starter is a mechanic, he changes and repairs his tires himself. He overhears a conversation between the owner of the gas station and two suspicious men who threaten the owner in mafia style that if he doesn't take part in this, his gas station will one day be on fire. After the two strangers leave, Starter identifies himself as a journalist to the gas station owner and offers to investigate. But the owner doesn't want that. What's more, when Starter leaves, the owner calls the mysterious stranger's boss and tells him that a journalist knows about the matter. Meanwhile, Starter notices that even more cars are having problems. A driver tells him that, strangely enough, just before the incident, someone offered him an insurance against such things. Starter visits his friend Pipette, who also owns a car repair shop, and asked him whether he was blackmailed too, which Pipette says no. Starter tells him what he has learned so far and asks his friend to keep his eyes open. The organization behind the acts of sabotage has not been idle either. They prepare a trap for Starter when he wants to talk to an engineer about a newly developed car. The two meet in a bar and Starter is called to the phone. There he is knocked down and kidnapped. The enemy organization turns out to be an insurance company. Their boss ordered the acts of sabotage to convince people to take out his special insurance. Starter manages to escape and wants to go straight to the police, but it turns out that the insurance company has a wide network of employees who are all now chasing after Starter. In an attempt to finally get the truth out to the public, Starter needs the help of Pipette, and the hunt goes on throughout the whole city. After Gidem, the author of Starter's adventure, complained in the last story that Delport's scenario with the microbes in the gearbox was totally unrealistic, that changed completely in the second story. The idea of a criminal company that even carries out sabotage and extortion for its profit was very much grounded in reality. However, Gidem reports that Delport had no experience as a scenario designer, which meant that the scenarios he wrote were hardly feasible in this form.
When Delport wrote a scene, he didn't think in comic language. In his case, the car stopped in front of a house. The character got out, went up the stairs, opened the door, and screamed, "Oh!" all in one panel. He had no sense of page layout, and I spent my time refining the sequences of this comic book. Together with Franklin, we racked our brains over certain passages, because you also had to stick to the prescribed length of 44 pages.
At the time Starter vs. the Carbreakers was released, Gidem was primarily André Franquin's assistant. Gidem mainly helped him with the Gaston series and was only allowed to work on the Starter story because he promised that the work on Gaston would not suffer. The work did not suffer. Nevertheless, there was a break. Nobody at the Dupuis publishing house had Starter on their list as a big story. In addition, Gidem wanted to tell his own stories, but at the moment he was very dependent on Delport's scenarios. It wasn't until April 1962 that another story appeared, or should we say, a small story. Not even a short story, a small story. In Spirou number 1252, dated April 12, 1962, there was a poster in Spirou magazine featuring the Dalton brothers from the Lucky Luke series. The story Starter and the Invisible Car was printed on the back of the poster. The story was correspondingly short and small, and the scenario was less realistic. As the title suggests, it's about an invisible car. And this happened decades before James Bond took up the topic again in a movie. It would take another year until a new story from Starter finally was published in Spirou magazine, The House Across the Street. This time, Gidem wrote the scenario himself. So there you have it, Starter versus the Carbreakers. Well, until next time. Surround yourself with nice people, stay safe, stay healthy, and see you. ASTROCOHORS headquarters, come in. This is Yarmodorak.
This is ASTROCOHORS Club headquarters. Jaden James here. Go ahead, Commander.
I have some news for you about the Six Sisters. Very strange news.
Now you're making me curious. What is it about?
Wait, I'll send you a file with pictures. I found the pictures very insightful.
Where are these pictures from?
From the official police files. I'll call up picture number 1.
What? Who is this?
This is an official police photo from the crime scene where the second sister was found. This is the second sister.
One moment. Didn't you tell me that the second sister was found upside down in a barrel of olive oil? That the crime scene is very reminiscent of the crime scene of the second dead monk from the Name of the Rose?
Yes, at least that's what they said here in the monastery. Wait, I have a second picture. From this angle you can see it a little bit better. Notice the barrel?
Yes. The liquid in the barrel could be olive oil, and she has a few splashes of olive oil on her skin, that's all?
Exactly. She was found in the storage room near the barrels of olive oil. But that's about it. Everything else is a rumor that has been spread. I suspect someone did this on purpose.
What about the third sister? You said she was found drowned in a bathtub.
Yes, that makes the whole thing so interesting. In just a moment, I'll put the picture up.
What? What is she lying in?
This is one of the larger hot tubs. At least it's true about the water this time, but the similarities with the Name of the Rose are rather marginal.
And what do you think?
I think that's a message to me directly. Yes, Someone has some motive for these murders, but by trying so hard to connect them to the name of the rose, they are trying to tell me something.
You could be right. Have security measures been strengthened for the surviving sisters?
Apparently they did, but if that was the case, then it wasn't good enough.
What are you trying to say? You're not trying to imply... Oh no, is that the fourth sister?
Yes, she was found in her quarters, beaten to death with a heavy object. Immediately there were rumors that it was an amylary sphere, but in fact it was a small statue of Atlas holding the sky. So it doesn't fit quite well again, but at least the murderer tried to fit in.
But if you say she was beaten to death, why is there no blood in the picture?
An interesting question. You see, it doesn't fit, but someone wants it to look like this, no matter what. We now have a total of 4 dead sisters, including the first one long time ago. The 5th and 6th now spend their days locked up in their quarters. They were also moved to different quarters, but I don't understand why they don't take them away.
Who is actually responsible for protecting the sisters? This all stinks to high heaven.
Another good question. Have you found anything out about who these sisters actually are?
We found out a few names and also that their parents died in an accident over 20 years ago. They are probably being treated for the psychological trauma, but other than that there is hardly anything noticeable, and that makes me suspicious.
Yeah, me too. I think these murders are intended to convey 2 messages. One to me, as I said. This attempt to establish a connection to my research on the name of the rose is quite striking. But I think the second message goes to our organization, and the message is, no matter what you do, people are not safe on your property. After all, the Abbey belongs to ASTROCOHORS.
I'm afraid you're more right than you realize. The Earth is in a terrible state right now. Societies are falling apart. And with such cruel acts, they want to show that the credo of ASTROCOHORS CLUB and the united humanity is weak. But we can't allow that. Stay on the case, Commander.
I will. I'll investigate further and get back to you. I hope that there won't be another report of a death.
I hope that too. ASTROCOHORS CLUB headquarters over and out.
Yamadurak, over and out.